Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for joining me, and welcome to episode number 2 of School of the Akash. Before we get into the lesson, I just want to let you know if you enjoy the work that I'm doing here on my channel, there are links in the description with different ways that you can support it. And yeah, if anything, a like on the video goes as long as anything else. So thank you very much, you guys. And I've decided in these Akashic Records focused videos, I'm going to be working on or helping you find a way to induce the visual aspect of the experience. Because that's what everyone wants. It's one thing to feel something and to feel one way, but when we see something accompanied with that feeling, it takes on a new meaning and does a lot for us. And before we get into the material, I will always recommend and be an advocate for working with the Kryon Circle of 12 programs, especially if you're looking to open your third eye. I know that when I started my Akashic Records course, my guides made sure that I found the Kryon Circle of 12 programs, and I did those things alongside each other. So just a tip, going forward, we're looking to keep our third eye busy. We're looking to keep our third eye fueled and excited and engaged in all of the visual parts of this experience that we've been very excited about getting into for such a long time. Okay, so let's start here. In these videos, there's going to be a lot of talk about immersion. There's going to be a lot of talk about sensory exercises. There are things that I do all the time, even now as an Akashic Records practitioner that's done hundreds and hundreds of readings. I'm always looking to exercise and work my third eye outside of the process. So it's a muscle. We're looking to work a muscle. We're working to engage spiritual muscle memory. And a sprinter can do a whole heck of a lot of leg exercises that help them when they finally, get on the track. So we want to find different ways of getting the third eye out of its shell, and I feel like that is the hardest part of all of this a lot of the time. When I started my Akashic Records course, I was given a visual exercise or a visual meditation, a guided one, to help me open the records initially. And that kind of threw me off because as someone who is awake for a long time, obviously I've done a lot of visual meditations and it didn't really take me anywhere. But I went through the motions anyway, and the meditation was you should start as if you're walking through a path in a forest, and you should work your way up a trail until you get to your temple on the mountaintop, and then you have to do different things to there's worthiness checks and there's different things that you need to do to get into the temple. And the test is how long can you hold your visuals and how can you immerse yourself in the visuals until you get to the top. And when the program started, I could maybe hold my awareness in the visual for 20, 30 seconds, 1 minute at most before mind chatter or something else I had to do, some obligation, some person I was going to have to talk to at work, some duty that I had pulled me out of the experience. So basically, in the beginning, didn't know how to immerse myself enough to kind of avoid the mind chatter that would pull us away. So there are two things that will stop the visual experience from really catching on the way that it should, or prevent you from holding it long enough to have the consciousness release into that space that we're looking to induce. And that will be 3D mind chatter. What do I have to do in the morning? What is this person going to say? And it will be simply falling asleep. If you're not immersed in the experience, you're just going to fall asleep. What we're looking to do is get you immersed in the visuals to the point where you don't fall asleep, and instead your consciousness kind of catches track in a different way, and you become immersed in what the visual was, whether you're creating it or it's being created for you. And I can tell you, I use my third eye for entertainment purposes all the time. It's not just based on what esoteric work you need to do. It's a tool for you to have a lot of fun with too. And once you learn how to immerse yourself so you get the consciousness release into the dimension without falling asleep or getting pulled away from it, well, then you can pretty much construct anything you want to experience and go have at it. So as I worked the program and stuck to a discipline of working on this guided meditation, and here's another thing, I picked one and I pretty much did that all the time. Sometimes we're doing so many different things that it, pulls us away from achieving what the goal is and getting the results that we want to. But I went from, being able to hold my awareness for a very short period of time to being able to walk a trail all the way up a mountain and entering an Akashic Records temple, an entire process that took me probably 10 to 15 minutes to get to from start to finish. So after that point, I started to experience the release. And this is what I hope for all of you to experience at some point while following this. It's a moment where you kind of consciously slip into a different dimension rather than falling asleep, like we talked about. And, people almost experience this a lot when they fall asleep at night and they like jump out of their body. It's like they're kind of between things. And if that's something you experience, you should be really excited about the teachings going forward. So getting from barely being able to hold the visuals to being able to hold it for the entire duration, it was not just by repeating the same process. It was not just about wanting it more. It was about some other things that I learned to associate with the guided meditation, things that I was not doing before. Before I started the visuals, I touched base. I consciously communicated with the unconscious parts of me. I opened a dialogue with the ego. I let the ego know that it is to not interrupt me while having this experience. I opened a dialogue with my body and my cellular structure, asking that I remain comfortable and not pulled out of the experience. I would communicate with Gaia, asking Gaia, help me anchor in and hold the energy that I need to sustain the experience that I'm looking to manifest. I would communicate with my higher self. Higher self, help me hold the light and help me see progress in this experience that I'm working toward bringing forward. So the simple act of consciously touching base with unconscious parts of you that are actually conscious in their own way, who usually have certain settings and conditions that they're trying to work under and uphold, well, it's our job as a conscious being to manage those parts of our system so that they know how to behave based on what we're trying to accomplish. So when we're meditating, we need to let them know that we are quieting the noise and we're amplifying the proper elements to help us during the experience. So how did the guided meditation change for me after that? Well, I could walk the trail without being pulled out by the mind chatter. Not only could I walk the trail, I could feel the breeze as it hit my face. I could smell the trees and the flowers in bloom as they were blowing through the wind. And when the structures can when the visuals can structure themselves without you having to do too much of the work, well, then little animals and elementals start coming up to you, and you can put your hand on them. You can, feel their fur. You can feel their heartbeat and their breath on your skin. So working on immersing yourself in the visuals and doing it in a way where you can't get pulled out by anything, you kind of have to give yourself permission to do that. You have to give yourself permission to let go of all the illusion that's doing its best to keep you from remembering how to do these things. But it's very important that you work toward getting to the point where you can hold the visuals for 10, 15, or 20 minutes. Why? Because on the other side of that, what you don't see is your brainwaves start to change. So we're looking for that release in consciousness, right? Well, after 10 minutes walking the trail, getting to the temple and sitting in the middle of it, my brainwaves had reached a certain state, combined with my becoming immersed in the visuals, helped me have that conscious release into the space rather than just falling asleep like would normally happen if you weren't immersed enough. So if you're falling asleep in meditation a lot, especially guided ones, I want to let you know that you are very, very, very close to having a huge, breathtaking breakthrough. Learn how to immerse yourself so that your consciousness can stay engaged and doesn't just shut off because you can't vibrationally hold yourself in what you're doing. So now I've been climbing the trail, I'm fully immersed in the space. Oh, and I just happen to be in a spot that is symbolically a representation of the Akashic Records. What do I do now? Don't panic, stay calm, ask this or make this simple request. Dear Spirit, dear Akashic Records, show me what I need to see. Let whatever comes forward come forward. It will probably be symbolic in its meaning. The visual may be accompanied with a download of information or a bubble of quantum intel. How long can you hold yourself there? When you see the visual, do you still get judgment or an ego that belittles the meaning of what you've seen? Do you still get the message, this is imagination and inconsequential and unimportant for me? Well, then next time you do it, you need to go back and be a little bit more direct or a little bit more soft with the ego. So study yourself during the process, and you might find that you have certain strengths and weaknesses that you need to focus a little bit more attention on. So don't skip steps. Fully commit, fully immerse yourself in the visuals. Get a guided meditation that takes you into the Akashic Records. Go there with a purpose, with a feeling of importance, knowing that you belong there and it's a space that knows you. Hold the visual on your own for 10, 15, or 20 minutes until it takes over and it's structured for you and your consciousness disengages from the limitation and is introduced into that space. And before you know it, you'll be able to engage in that consciousness release into the space automatically. You won't have to talk to your ego. You won't have to even go through any process or routine of opening the records. But the more you can recreate that moment where you release into the space and everything becomes automatic, the easier it is for you to do it on command. And then you'll be able to do Akashic Records readings for people. You'll be able to download information on what to do on the spot. You won't have to be twirling your thumbs and tapping your toes, waiting for messages and information to come through. And don't worry, there will be a lot more information like this, and I'm going to hold your hand through the entire process and all of its nuances and different approaches that different kinds of souls can take to have success with opening their records. And before we close, I just want to let you know that you are probably already opening and working in the records in one form or another. You might not just be doing it consciously. So know your worth, know what you're here to remember, and if you're watching this video, you're likely a keeper of the Akash like me, and I want to welcome you here and let me know if you have any questions. Thank you very much. Goodbye.